but the first question she wants to know is, how can you control your weight after 65? That's the first question.
That's easy.
And then I'll read that. We'll answer that one first, and then we'll go through and answer the others.
Okay. It's very simple. Number one, we said the body's designed to move, so you don't want to slow down if you don't have to, because a lot of our patients have arthritis, and the more we make them move, the less arthritis they have. So that's number one. Two, it's their diet. Diet is 80 to 90% of everything we do. It's the biggest drug we have that they don't call a drug, okay? Because everything you put in your body makes a chemical reaction. So a lot of our patients that we notice, because I just talked to one of the patients the other day about this, she's having a lot of pain, and I said, well, we take a pH strip and we put it in their mouths, and we can see she's very acidic. Well, you're acidic because of your inflammatory diet. But I don't eat sugar. No, you don't eat sugar, but you have a donut that's made of, easy things that turn to sugar easily. Or you have, well, I don't add sugar to my coffee, but I add this creamer that has a bunch of high fructose corn syrup in it. So they don't really understand the conversation that this becomes sugar to get into your system. So they think just by not adding sugar, they're not eating sugar, which makes you inflamed, plus a lot of other things that we eat that make us inflammatory. So when you look at what you eat, and of course, when you're over 65, a lot of people don't want to eat anymore because they don't smell the food as much, they don't taste it as well. So once those senses start to go, they don't really feel like they want it. If they're not as active, they're definitely not going to want it because they're not expelling the calories, so their body doesn't feel like it needs it. So you want to stay active, and you want to eat the right foods more often. Just like same thing as when you're younger. The body is a machine, and it does the same thing at 65 that it does at 25. The difference is you may eat and be more active at 25, so you may want to cut down the calories at 65. But if you're more active, I have a 94-year-old patient. She dances 3 times a week. 3 times a week. She's 94. I got 30-year-olds that come in and can't walk. So, if you're eating the right stuff, your body will do the right thing with it. It's what you put in that you get out.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think I saw something floating around Facebook just the other day. This lady was like 78 years old. She does like these bodybuilding competitions, but she didn't start until she was like 65 or something like that. She's like powerlifting. She's like picking up like 240-pound bars and stuff. Like it was very impressive, but it just shows you what you just said, the potential of the human body. It functions just the same at 80 as it does at 25. It's just what you're doing with it.
Right, and you got consistency is the key. You have to be consistent. You can't do the work to change a bad diet. So if you can go work out a couple of times, you'll never outwork the bad diet. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to eat cake every day, I don't care how much you work out, you're going to get heavy. You can't do it. You've got to eat right, and you got to eat more often. And you got to look at what you're putting in your mouth, more fruits and vegetables, et cetera, et cetera. And as long as you got it up in your mind that it can be done, then it can be done. But people go, oh, I'm a girl, I don't want to lift weights, I'm going to get big. No, you're not. You don't have the same testosterone as a man. You won't get big. It'll never happen. You'll get really toned, and you'll look really good.
Right. And you said, just real quick before we go on to the next question, you were talking about, eating fruits and stuff and eating the right foods and all that. And I think you might have even mentioned it, and Dr. Hudak and I were talking about this earlier today, that sometimes people confuse what's actually what's fruit. And I'll give you an example. My mother-in-law was eating this bag of dried apricots that were like covered in sugar. And she was like, we were talking, and she's like, I eat fruit all the time. And I was like, when do you eat fruit? And she was like, well, I eat these like every day. And it was like, there's like 38 grams of sugar in each serving of it.
Listen, people eat avocado because it's a great fat source. It's a good fat for your body. But if you have 5 avocados a day, that's too much fat. You shouldn't even have one whole one a day. Maybe a half, something like that in your salad. You got people that eat nuts, and they're like, well, nuts are healthy for you. Sure they are. Not in a pound a day, because what you're putting in is way too much. You don't need that much. Nuts and seeds that are high in fat are great if you're out in the wilderness and you don't know where your next meal is going to come and you want to survive. By all means, load up. But when you're eating every day normally, you don't need a handful of, 3 handfuls of nuts because you're having a drink with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes, I hear you completely.